Welcome to the DIY Try or Buy podcast with Yiesha and Mee Hee.
We've created a space where listeners and viewers can explore beyond their comfort zone. We'll be engaging in discussions and tackling DIY projects.
We'll also try new things and buy new quality products that will enhance your way of life. So please subscribe, like, and share, and join us every Thursday for the podcast you didn't know you needed.
Welcome back to DIY Try or Buy. Yes. And we're at episode 5.
Episode 5.
Woo. So episode 5 is, our title is kind of One Table, Many Perspectives, Eating Out Differently.
Yes, I love that title.
Yeah, so as you all kind of have heard on a couple of the episodes of Yiesha and I, and our kind of real purpose and work within that DEIA lens, the whole kind of piece here is a location we visited, a bakery, and that, you know, we just met, right? It was actually a meeting and it happened to be a really great space. And I said, hey, there's this new bakery in town. They've been open since January of this year. Okay. It kind of formed from an at-home business, and one of the co-owners decided, let's do a brick and mortar. So it's actually in the town that I live in, but I love bakeries. Who doesn't love a bakery? A baked treat? Come on now.
Right.
Cakes, cookies, donuts. We love a little morning sweet treat. Pick me up in the morning and some coffee. So I am repping my hometown. Hey, Cruda's Bakery. I grew up eating it. Donuts.
Where is this? Where's your hometown?
My hometown is Collinsville, Illinois.
Collinsville, Illinois.
Yes.
Okay.
Outside St. Louis, it is known to have the world's largest ketchup bottle. That's what we're known for. I know, right? But now y'all know. So I grew up there, and like mornings with like Cruda's Donuts was like a thing. So when I go back, the last time I went home, I went to Cruda's 3 times.
Wow.
I was only there for like 3 days.
What are they known for? Is there a particular pastry that they're known for? Or
I mean, I just love, they make obviously the donuts, but they have pies, cookies, brownies, breads, jelly rolls, you name it.
Wow.
If it's a sweet baked treat, they've got it.
I don't remember having a favorite bakery in my hometown of Detroit, but I know that I used to love punchkis. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly, punchkis, but I love those jelly-filled punchkis. So that was a treat for me as a kid. And they were fresh. So one thing I did like about Mama's Bird Bakery.
Oh, we got introduced, right?
So
we went to Mama's Bird.
Sorry, Mama's Bird. That's where we went, had the meeting. One thing I really did like about Mama's Bird Bakery was that it's a scratch kitchen, meaning they make everything there. It is from scratch. It's no preservatives. And I love the fact that they have, and we'll show you pictures within this episode, they have glass windows so you can actually see them making your food, which, as you will learn in episodes to come, I'm very particular about my food. I don't partake in potlucks and things like that. So to see them making things and to see how clean everything was a blessing. So I felt very good about the experience that we had.
And I knew of this bakery opening locally, and I knew it was a place that we needed to check out because it was built to be inclusive to the community of all people. And so I think one of the co-owners was a former social worker, and she had a client or a customer she was working with that was trying to help place their daughter, I think, in a job, and they really wanted to work like as a barista, is what I read up on. And the manager was like, she can't do anything, or she wasn't, hireable. So with that in mind, they actually have hired, I think, 3 individuals that are neurodivergent or is living with, a challenge or a disability. And let me be clear, I don't like using the word disability, although it is labeled in that way. I like to use the term, which I learned from some colleagues in a community I worked in, differing abilities, because we all have differing abilities to be more inclusive to everyone. So I like that term. Okay. But You're right. We're gonna kind of talk through a little bit of the visit, like what we ate, about the space. So I'm kind of interested in kind of getting your take. Like when you walked into the space, like what did you notice?
Again, I think for our last episode, when we talked about being our authentic selves, I think once we find out who our authentic selves are, if that's the right verbiage, it's also then seeing outside of ourselves and thinking of others. So I know within our title for this episode, we talked about eating differently, right? So there are certain things that we expect when we go out and we spend our good money to do certain things. But with this episode, hopefully you'll be able to step outside your comfort zone and think of other people outside of yourselves as it relates to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So you might not have a particular, what did you call the word?
Differing abilities.
Differing ability. But you need to consider that when you go out, because if you ever want to refer someone to a wonderful place of service that has great customer service or food, but you also want to consider accessibility. That might be something that's important to you or someone that you might want to refer this facility to. So you mentioned this place to me. I was excited because she kind of told me a little bit of the backstory. So you had already arrived before I got there. So that was your first time going. So when you walked in, what did you feel like?
There's a wall. It depends on like what entrance, I think, because they have two separate entrances. There's like one towards the back, and just to give context, this storefront and bakery sits on the first floor of a luxury apartment complex in a downtown area, and not like a busy, bustling downtown. I live in a smaller town.
Luxury for small town.
Luxury for small town. So our main street, right? It's off of like a main street. So I would call it quaint, but these apartments actually do look nice. So it sits on like a corner. And when I walked in, it felt welcoming from a color standpoint, from a lighting standpoint. It was very kind of early morning. So I think I was one of two people that were in there at the same time, just waiting on you. And then a couple people arrived, but very open, welcoming. That's kind of the words that come to mind when I walked into the space.
For me, when I first walked in, because you were already seated, I love the fact that, like you said, it was an open area. The doors were wide for people to go in and out of if you had a wheelchair. That was nice to see. Very airy. I love a good, spot that has a great ambiance to it. And then I got a good morning. There's nothing like customer service when they see you come in and they're expecting you for someone to say good morning. It bothers me when people are, and I can see if you're busy, right? But if you're there and you're at the register or you're near and you see someone walking in and you don't greet them, I got a problem with that. So when I walked in, I got a good morning, how are you? And so that made me happy. That kind of lifted my spirits. And then I saw Mee Hee and we did our little thing, and love that. You had shared with me too, from an accessibility standpoint, the tables. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the space was really designed with inclusion in mind on anyone that might need different accessibility. So the tables are rounded so that if a wheelchair needed to pull right into a table, that they can. The counter glass height was also specific to anyone that might come in with a wheelchair. So that was designed differently because that's not what most stores are going to think through. So I thought that was interesting. Also, when we go to a space, like sometimes you have to use the restroom. I got a 7-year-old. You might need to use the restroom. So I went into the restroom as well. Door handles are a thing, right? Are they round, the circle knobs? Are they the pull door handle, right? So, and they had the pull door handle on the inside and out. So that was something I noticed there. Parking is a thing. I was a little nervous because I didn't know that it's again an apartment complex. So there were a lot of the signs that said like apartment parking only or the complex parking only. So I parked like to the side. So I had asked before you got there, I got there a little earlier. I was like, can you park behind these? And they're like, oh yeah, we just don't have the signs up yet. So I was like texting you can park behind the apartment complex, even though it says you can't. So, yeah, that was the thing. There's a wall too. I'm trying to remember what it had on the walls. I don't know if it was
We'll show it in the picture. I took pictures, so yeah, we'll show
something, maybe
it's an affirmation.
Yeah, like everyone's welcome here, maybe.
Very welcome.
So that's always nice just to read that, because they built it with inclusion and accessibility in mind.
So, you know, we have to think of people outside of ourselves. Like I said before, sometimes when you go somewhere, sometimes we'll just go to a Starbucks or we'll go to a certain restaurant and don't think anything of it. But when you have people, you are taking care of people with special needs or differing abilities, you have to plan ahead sometimes because you don't know what you're going to encounter. So I think going into Mama Bird, they thought of pretty much everything. There was a few things that that stood out with me, like you said, the tables, the height of different things. But when we were sitting there, there were like the diversity within the customers I really appreciated too. We saw a lot of young moms in there with their kids. I think two or three kids were having a play date. What else did we see? Some older gentleman walking in. I think it was like a young professional. He came in to pick up something. There was a person there with a disability. I can't think of the word you keep saying. And people have disabilities that are apparent and non-apparent. So it was just a nice mix of different people that was coming in there. And again, it was very welcoming. But let's talk about the food.
Yeah, I had a blueberry Pop-Tart. They had a variety of, like, they had cinnamon rolls, they had cookies, cupcakes, scones, I remember. But I chose to have a Pop-Tart. And I loved it.
So fun fact, I have never had a Pop-Tart. Again, that goes back to my grandmother. Never had things that was like, what do you call it? Packaged or from scratch. So I never had a Pop-Tart. I should have tried it. Thinking, you know, trying something different. But I had a ham pie. And let me tell you, that ham pie was so good, I wanted a second, but I think I took the last one because when I asked for a second one, she said they were out. And it wasn't even that late, but they must be really popular. But the ham pie was a puff pastry, and I'm going to make this, and I'm going to try it because it was so good. I was like, oh, I can make this. And I love going to a place that will inspire me. Just like church, it will inspire me to make it at home. But it was a puff pastry, and it had ham in it with cheese, and it was just puff on top. So again, ham pie, but it was so good. And I saw them making them. I wish I would have stayed and ordered another one. But I had a ham pie and I had a chai latte because I stopped drinking coffee at the beginning of the year. But the chai latte was really good. But that ham pie, very, very good. Very fresh.
Yeah, I just enjoy places that really is serving community or mindful of others, you know, that don't have a space, right? Like now we have a bakery in the community that is for truly everyone, right? There's no plan ahead. They know that this space was built and designed with intention. So I just, you know, I respect that, right? I'm going to frequent their business because that's authentic to me. Absolutely. Knowing their story and how their business was built. It's two women owners, you know, so love that in our community. And yeah, it was great. So the fun part is that we get to we built a little rating system on some different criteria. So we talked a little bit through it. So parking is one. So there was, you know, they're working on the signs there, but there is ample parking available because that's also a thing.
Right.
Like, do you have to pay for parking? How congested is it? Am I going to have to drive around a couple blocks?
Is there enough handicap parking, you know, spaces there for people that want to come and, you know?
Yeah, the next criteria is accessibility. Obviously, we know as we've talked through, this was designed with that in mind by the tables, the wide doors, the cases, the restroom, doors, even those like minute details that we saw and witnessed. Food options. So we didn't mention because we don't have this limitation, but we're not exclusively vegan or gluten-free. No. But they do have those options.
Yes, it is.
So that's definitely something. And then taste, right? I mean, it's got to taste good.
It was good. Look, if you go into a bakery and they don't have butter or something to make that look, you know, it was good. That ham pie, I think about that ham pie every now and then. That's how good it was. So please try that ham pie. It was good. Yeah.
And then customer service, right? How is the customer service at the location? I mean, greetings. Yiesha kind of mentioned the greetings. I love just being also with others as well and how they're greeting other customers, and you can pick up on that. And then ambiance and the overall experience of what we felt. So we're going to rate, Yiesha.
So our rating, again, we have a podcast and we are going to rate, and I believe Felix is going to help us out with our emojis, but I'm going to try to get a mic in here. But we're going to do something that some of us are used to, that microphone check 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, which 3 will be the best. We think it's amazing. 1 would be that, it was okay. But 2 is average. So, Mee Hee, what would you rate out of all the different categories that we have overall? How would you rate Mama Bird Bakery?
Overall rating. Ooh, because we're not. Are we gonna get detailed and being like the 0.75, or we just straight up mics? However we need to do it.
Microphone check 1, 2, 1, 2.5, 1. However you want to do it.
Felix is over there sweating like, what?
Oh Lord, I mean, I'm gonna make a half a mic.
Yeah, I think for overall, all of the different criteria combined, I honestly, I mean, we know that every place wants to grow themselves because they're like just been open since the beginning of the year. I would definitely give them like a 2.75.
2.75. All right. I think I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with a 2.75. You know, a lot of establishments, even like big corporations, they don't consider accessibility options, and they say, oh, as long as we're ADA compliant, we're great. No, that's just the bare minimum. Especially with some of the people that we know personally, it's just a bare minimum of what you need, and it really doesn't help those that actually have different abilities. So I don't know why I can't remember that, but y'all gonna help me on that. So yes, for me, 2.75, great, because for me it was universal design. Universal design is not just for people with different abilities, but it is for everyone. Universal means everyone. So I think the aspect of universal design within Mama's Bakery was absolutely great, and the fact that they employ people with different abilities is amazing. The food was good. I can't think of really anything that was bad about it at all. So
yeah. Oh, you know, so because it's attached to a luxury apartment complex, the one thing is like the restrooms, you've got to walk into a shared hallway.
Okay.
So that's the one thing, right, of being in that type of facility. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a limitation, but I feel like any of the renters of that apartment complex could use those restrooms as well. So because it's a shared space, but you know, again, out of their control, but the design of like the door handles were still thought out really well. So
very intentional. All right, well, that is our rating for Mama Bird Bakery. If you're in the area, we will drop a link to their business, and shout out to her hometown bakery in Illinois. What is it, Cruda's. I got to try Cruda's when we're in Illinois. And thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share DIY Try or Buy podcast, the podcast you didn't know you needed. Thanks again.